Let's talk about one of the most brilliant heists in history. Seriously, it's a story so clever, so perfectly planned, it feels like it was ripped straight from a Hollywood movie. The crazy part? It all actually happened.
So here's the ultimate question, right? How do you pull off the perfect crime? But I want you to forget about guns, masks, and getaway cars. The weapon of choice here was pure information. And the crime scene? A public racetrack packed with hundreds of people. Yeah, it really all came down to just three things. One man, a horse that everyone thought was a loser, and a single, constantly busy telephone. These three pieces came together to pull the rug out from under an entire industry. And the absolute best part? No laws were broken. Not a single one. So, let's get into how they pulled it off. So, how do you pull off a robbery with no gun? Well, it's all about misdirection. On the day it all went down, the scene was set, the players were in position, and nobody in that crowd had a clue what was really going on. So, picture this. June 26th, 1975. A little race course in Bellowtown, Ireland. On the surface, it looks like any other day at the races. You've got the roar of the crowd, the excitement of the bets, but hidden in plain sight, a silent, perfectly timed operation is already underway.
So you've got this totally bizarre scene playing out. There's one guy hiding in some prickly bushes, peering through binoculars. Then there's another guy who's just having a total meltdown in the only phone booth on the track. And the mastermind behind it all, this guy Barney Curley, he's nowhere to be found. Or is he? Each person is a chess piece, placed exactly where he needs it to be.
Okay, so to really get how a guy like Barney Curley could even dream up a plan this wild, you gotta go back. See, for him, this wasn't just about the cash. Oh no, this was deeply personal. This was his chance to get even with a system that had ruined his family. First, you gotta understand the enemy. In this story, the enemy is the bookie. These are the people who take the bets, set the odds, and pay out the winnings. They're the gatekeepers, the ones who control the money. They are the house. And you know the saying, right? The house always wins? Well, Barney's entire life was about proving that wrong. And this right here, this is the core of his whole strategy. It's pretty simple. You bet on the favorite, a horse everyone thinks will win, and yeah, you might make a little money. But if you bet on a long shot, a horse that has no chance in hell, and it wins, the payout is huge. His whole plan was built on making everyone believe his horse was the longest of long shots. You could say gaming the system was basically in his DNA. His own father used to run scams by drugging his greyhounds to manipulate the race outcomes. So Barney grew up not just learning how to gamble, but how to bend the rules to his advantage. And this is where you see that spark of genius, or maybe, deviousness. He was only 15, but he didn't just copy his dad's trick. He one-upped him. He secretly drugged a different dog, bet on it, and beat his own father at his game. That moment tells you everything about this guy. But look, this story isn't just about a clever kid. It's got some real heartbreak in it. One of his father's schemes went bad, and the family lost everything. Can you imagine? You're 16 years old, forced to drop out of school and work in a factory, all to pay back the very bookies who took everything from your family. That experience lit a fire in him, a lifelong vow to get revenge on the whole system. So how did he get his revenge? Well, that brings us to the plan. Decades of resentment, a mountain of personal debt, and that burning desire for payback all came together in the absolute masterpiece that would go down in history as the Yellow Sam coup. Okay, fast forward to 1975, and Barney is in serious trouble. He's 12,000 pounds in debt, which was a fortune back then, and the bookies are breathing down his neck. He was backed into a corner, and his only way out? To go all in on one last, absolutely insane gamble. So let's break down this blueprint for the perfect heist. It's pure genius. Step 1. Find a horse, Yellow Sam, that was secretly very fast but had a terrible public record. Step 2, make that record even worse by deliberately racing him in muddy conditions that he hated. Step 3, find the perfect location, a remote track with one major weakness, only one public phone. Then you just needed a way to block that phone line and an army of people to place the bets. And this is the key to the whole operation, the linchpin. Back in the 70s, when a ton of money suddenly came in for one horse, the off-track betting shops would call the on-track bookies to warn them. The on-track bookies would then immediately slash the odds. Barney's whole plan was built around one simple idea: cut that communication. If the guys at the track never got the call, those juicy 20-to-1 odds would be locked in.
Okay, so now we're back to race day. The plan is in motion. The agents are ready, and Barney is hiding in the bushes, watching a lifetime of planning all come down to just a few nail-biting minutes. The timing here had to be absolutely flawless. We're talking split-second precision. At 2:35 p.m., Barney's man Benny walks into that phone booth and starts faking a call, sobbing his eyes out about his supposedly dying aunt. This completely ties up the line. Then, at 2:50 on the dot, the signal goes out, and 300 people all across Ireland flood into betting shops at the exact same moment. By 3 p.m., when the race started, it was already over. I mean, can you just picture the absolute chaos breaking out in betting shops all over the country? Alarms are going off as all this money pours in for this one horse nobody's ever heard of. Managers are scrambling, desperately trying to call the track to slash the odds, but all they hear is a busy signal, thanks to Benny and his dying aunt. The trap worked perfectly.
And then, the moment of truth. All that meticulous planning would have been for nothing if the horse lost. But Yellow Sam, finally running on the firm ground he loved, was like a different animal. He didn't just win, he dominated, winning by 2.5 lengths. The slow horse was secretly a champion.
So, what's the payout for a masterpiece like this? Well, from a total bet of around £15,000, Barney and his team walked away with a mind-blowing £300,000. Now, to really wrap your head around that number, in today's money, that's about $3.5 million, a life-changing fortune, and he did it all in a few minutes without breaking a single law. Incredible. The race might have been over, but believe me, the story was just getting started. The shockwaves from the Bellestown coup turned Barney Curley from a simple gambler into an absolute legend. So the bookies, they were absolutely fuming, but they had to pay up. And they did, in 108 giant sacks of cash. And since he hadn't actually broken any laws, there was nothing they could do. He wasn't a criminal, he was just smarter. The bookmakers changed their rules almost overnight to close the loophole he'd so brilliantly exploited, and Barney Curley became a folk hero, a kind of Robin Hood of the racetrack.
So in the end, it really all boils down to one question, doesn't it? Who was Barney Curley? Just a common crook who found a loophole? Or was he a working-class genius who brilliantly outsmarted a rigged system? That's a question people are still arguing about to this day.